Hello there. This is part three of my visit at church today and what I heard from the Lord. I last in the second part we were talking about Isaac and how he was bound, and there's some cool imagery there that I didn't talk about. I want to kind of share now. Is you got this picture of him being bound to these branches of this tree that he's about to be burnt as a burnt offering, right? And so there's a parallel between Isaac. He's the one thing that Abraham loves, right? He says, offer me your son, sacrifice your son." And it's like you can almost hear Abraham saying, "You mean Ishmael?" And God saying, "No, not Ishmael. Isaac, your son, your only son, the one you love." That's literally what it says in the scriptures. And so there's this, you have to kind of think, why does God have to say your son, your only son, the one you love? Why doesn't he just, it's obvious, it's Isaac, right? Um, but that's kind of a comparison to the tree of life, and the tree of knowledge and of good and evil. It was the one thing out of all the trees in the garden that they were asked not to eat. It's the one tree that God loved. It was the only one that they were not allowed to eat of, right? The one, the only one. It's the one that he loved. He didn't want them to eat of it. And yet, there's 99.9% of all the other trees that they could have eaten from. It's just that 0.1% that kind of they wanted to take that too. And so this is kind of God offering back to Abraham an opportunity of redemption to offer up the one thing that they had, that he had, that was a promise to him. The it's interesting. It was God who even gave him that promise, right? And so did Abraham hold that back from him, from God? Was that it almost as if that could have become an idol for Abraham, this legacy, this promise, this future of being the father of many nations and having offspring like the stars in the sky and this the sand on the by the sea. um he wasn't even going to hold that back from God. He trusted God that much that he knew that God would provide. And it's interesting. What is it that Isaac is set upon? Tree branches, right? The tree that there's a symbolism that points you back to Eden, the tree that they ate from, the branches that they took the fruit of. And literally, there's a fruit, the offspring of Abraham, kind of being set back on a tree. The tree that Adam and Eve took the fruit from, Abraham's offering his first fruit, back on that tree, you know, to be consumed, right? There's consumption of the fruit in Eden, and then there's consumption of the fruit of Abraham's seed, right? That God will olah, a burnt offering, completely offered to God, right? And not even that's hidden from God. Abraham makes the perfect offering. He gives nostalgia back to God. And what does God do? He makes good. And that's kind of the way the promises work with God. Don't let those promises that He's given you hold you back. Offer it back up on the tree. Put back on the tree that which Adam took off and Eve took off from the tree. Offer it back, and you'll see that there's a greater gift that's given back to you. Everything that you could have asked for and dreamed for, He gives it to you even tenfold. Um, yeah, that's the illustration of Isaac. And yeah, I just have a bunch of other notes. I'll just read them. You see, the hidden things show fear. They show lack of trust. They show shame. Those are the symbols of the hidden things. Idols that we are bound to, right? Like Rachel bound to the saddle. We hide them, and they've become idols, right? It hinders us from being able to stand when our Father asks us to stand. It keeps us bound, right? Um, that's what it's like when our Father asks us to reveal what we've hidden. The Olah is symbolic of us being given an Eden-like opportunity to give God a nostalgia in a way. When we offer our thoughts to Him and bind them to the tree branches on the offering altar, it takes us back to the first tree. There's a knowledge of something that we think we've hidden from God. But when we offer it back up to Him, our thoughts, and when we bind it up, like we're putting back on the tree, we're binding it back to the tree that we took and we hid. It becomes something that is being offered back on the north side of that altar. It's that Safan. It's that code, that hidden thing, that cipher that becomes something that's eternal, right? It's for God because God's eternal. And so in a way, what we're offering goes from our finite existence into eternity. It's something that God remembers forever. And that's what we want. If you want to have something, a legacy, have something that's eternal, make it an offering back to God, and you'll see how God makes it miraculous, makes it something that's mundane and infinite. He'll make that into something that's eternal, something that's a legacy. Um, the Levites, they had these burnt offerings, like I was sharing the Hatat and the Shalom offerings. There's something that's just very unique about the burnt offering. Oh, quick little thing. Why is the Hatat offered on the north side? The Shalom offering is not offered at the north side of the altar. But the Hatat offering, the sin offering, it is offered on the north side, the same place as the Olah, the burnt offering. And why is the Hatat, the sin offering, offered at the north? Um, it's because that which we missed the mark with, it's in a way it gets redeemed. It gets to be. It's symbolic of it. That which we sinned, God redeems it. Even though we screw up and mess up, just like Adam and Eve, there is a redemption later on, right? Through Abraham, through Yeshua, through Boaz and Ruth. These are all symbols of what was Hatat becomes realigned, and that which missed ends up hitting the mark, right? Yeshua covering us hits the mark. Abraham, Ruth and Boaz, because if you read their story, you'll see how it hits the mark. Um, that's all I'm going to say on that. Another parallel. We talked about the holidays today, the Jewish holidays, the six that fall in the fall season, which is right now, and we also talked about the six that have already occurred and have been fulfilled through Yeshua in the spring, which would be Pesach, Passover, uh, the firstborn being killed, the first fruits, and what was the third one? First fruits, Pesach, and is it the bread offering? And then the the three in the fall, Rosh Hashanah, which is the new year, um, the Yom Kippur, which is the atonement, and then Sukkot, or the festival of tabernacles, where God tabernacles with us in the tents, like when we were in the desert. And so the three that we focused on were the ones that were happening right now: Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, and Feast of Tabernacles, or Sukkot. And the significance of that is that they always fall in the month of Elul. And Elul is the month where they say the king is in his field. And Elul is an acronym for um, I'm my beloved's and my beloved is mine. That's out of Song of Songs, chapter 6, verse 3. And in Hebrew, it's Ani le dodi ve dodi. Li. I am a capital A for Aleph, Ani, capital L for Ledodi, capital V or Vav for Vedodi, and capital L for Lamed, Li. I am my beloved's, my beloved is mine. And the whole illustration there is really pretty beautiful. It's it's the king in his field, right? Or God in Eden, and his beloved is us, his subjects, his creation. We're the ones he loves, and he is telling. This is the year 5785. I don't know if you actually know that, but the this is on the Jewish calendar. This is supposedly the not supposedly. This is the 5,785th year since day one of creation. And so Rosh Hashanah kicks it off because Rosh Hashanah represents the day that the world was created, when God created the heavens and the earth, right? And the room hovered over the waters, and earth was formless and void. And then he said, "Let there be light," and there was light, and he called it good, and it was one day. And that's Genesis 1:1. That was day one, Rosh Hashanah. And that's the month we're in. It's the month of when, the king is in the field, he loves us, and he opens his mouth. And now 5785, the significance is 85, 80 being the Pei, the 17th letter in the Jewish alphabet, Pei in English. And the symbolism of the Pei is it looks like a mouth. Actually, it looks, when you look at the symbol, if you Google it and you look up the letter Pei, it looks like a mouth that's open, kind of like there's a tongue in there. And the symbol is, the Lord speaking. God speaks. The king opens his mouth. And he's in the field and he speaks to his subjects. And in my spirit today, I'm like, what is the Lord speaking to me? And it's through his mouth that he created the world. What's he going to create in our lives of this season, in the lives of his people who are in the field, his people he's asking to invest with him, his people that he's offering talents to? What is he speaking and breathing on them, life breathing into them? And that's the pay. And the pay is 5. That's why we have the 85. The total value, the gematria, in Hebrew is 85. And so the 5 comes from the letter He, which is the 5th letter of the Jewish alphabet. It's Hei. And the symbol there is like a Yud, like this symbol, the symbol of heaven, and of Israel, which starts with the letter Y, Yud. The symbol for Jacob, you're a worm, letter Y, humility, Yeshua, Yud. The tetragrammaton, the Yud He Vav He, starts with Yud. And then you got the vertical, but it doesn't touch the bottom of the Yud. It's the vertical, it's trying to ascend, and it's talking about the full height of like righteousness and the things of God. And you're ascending towards the Yud, trying to ascend towards God in humility and righteousness. But yet there's a window, right? Like the window in Noah's Ark, that he sent the dove out for opportunity to new life and to see, look out the window of what God's providing and offering in the new creation. And there's a window of opportunity. It's a window for them to breathe, for the breath of life, for the Ruach to enter into the ark. And so those are all the symbols of the hay. And so you got 8 and 5. And this time of the year, it's right after harvest, and it's the new beginning. It's the new year. It's new opportunity. And just after God closes the door of 5784, the dalet, the door, the doorpost, the lintel, he's closed the door of that year and closed the door of a lot of negative things in people's lives. And yet he's opening up a window so that we can breathe, so that we can have new life, so we can have new opportunity, right? And new investments with him. The king is opening his mouth and opening the window to your heart, to his heart, It's that I'm my beloved and he is mine. It's this intimate moment of when the king is in his field, where we're walking in the garden in Eden with him, and he's sharing intimate secrets. So the question, and I would ask if you would question and ask, what windows is he opening in my life? What new, fresh breath of air is he offering for me? What windows of opportunity can I look out and see the promises of God? What new creation is he giving to me? And ask him for that. But don't hold it as an idol. Bind yourself to him and see how you're supposed to invest that into the kingdom, into how are you supposed to offer that back to him? Look for these Eden moments this year. 5785, don't forget that. Remember, he's breathing into your life this year. Um, yeah, and so I was also thinking, that Verizon commercial, Can You Hear Me Now? This is kind of like the original Can You Hear Me Now? Can you hear the breath of God speaking into your life? Is this is an opportunity for you to comprehend. And I just want to close with this last idea that there's a word play here between God and man, right? It's the word is an offering or korban. There's an offering, but the offering that he's asking us to give began with an offering from him. He gives you an offer, like to invest. He's out in his field talking to you. Are you going to be servant number one, the good and faithful servant? Are you going to be the second servant, which is still good? Most people will probably fall in with a second servant. Not everyone knows how to hear clearly and invest. Not everyone can be the prophets like Elijah, Eliyahu, and Moshe. Not everyone can be that person and decipher the things of God. Even Elijah saw as through a mirror dimly, right through the clouds. Only Moses saw and heard God face to face. And so Moses is like the number one great faithful servant, good and faithful servant. Everyone else, we're not like the prophets who can even hear dimly. We don't get to invest quite as well as they did. We can make our best, but I don't know. I don't know if I have the ability to invest as a good and faithful servant like the first one, like Moses and like the prophets. But I can certainly try. I can be like the second servant. But I know none of us want to be like the third servant who just takes this offering from God. Because he is in the field. He's making an offering for you to try and take this talent and see what you do with it. Are you going to bury it? Are you going to listen to the mouth of the king? Are you going to feel his breath, feel his voice as he opens his mouth? Are you going to see these windows of opportunity, this hay in 5785? We got Yom Kippur coming up in a couple of weeks, or maybe a week or so. And I don't even know what the date is today. But yeah, be ready to make your offering. Yom Kippur is the Day of Atonement, the day that there's the scapegoat, the one that goes free, and the one that's offered. And Yeshua made the ultimate, offering. He was the goat that was offered for to atone. And so it doesn't mean that we don't get to still make our own offering and lay our lives down, right? We're supposed to walk in the shoes of our master, be a disciple of the rabbi. And part of that is, what is God asking you to offer up? What is he asking? Your father is asking you to stand, be inspected. And are you going to stand? Or are you going to be like Rachel and get cursed? Are you going to take these idols and offer them not in a way as an atonement, but more in a way of a shuva? To turn around 180 degrees, leave what you were doing, make steps to walk the other way. That's shuva. He's not asking you to make the kippur. He's made the kippur. He's asking you to make the shuva, to take the steps of walking 180 degrees and turning from the ways that you were going and walking in the conduct of someone who represents the kingdom. That you look like you look and you dress and you make an appearance as if someone who's representing his code of conduct, representing the heart of the king as a citizen. Like when Peter was being accused of being a Galilean, they said, "You're truly you were one of his disciples. You have the accent of a Galilean." Can they tell from your accent? From the way you appear to be someone who identifies with Messiah by offering these things to make an appearance that you illustrate him? Um, you have an opportunity in the next few days before Yom Kippur to start making your shuva, to start representing the way a citizen appears, um, to be to stick out the way Peter stuck out as a Galilean. By your accent, can they tell who you are? And so, yeah, these are the days, these are the appointed times we are in. These cyclical, orbital times that God Himself created on the fifth day. He set the planets in motion. He created all the great luminaries, the moon by night, the sun by day. He set them in their orbits so that we can have these appointed times. You got an opportunity. In the close of our service, Stephen asked us to put our hands up if we would commit to setting an appointed time, a time with God, a time to meet with the King in the field, to to discipline yourself so that you can get your desires, right? So that you would meet with this, it's a cyclical time. God is here. It's an anniversary, so to say. He is calling you his beloved, and you get a chance to call him yours and to, like an anniversary, set time apart and meet with him. So think of it that way. That's the Pebble for You shoe today. That's all I got for you. Think about it. Shalom.